Hi Young Investors, this is James Fletcher, founder of Young Investor Society. And today we're going to put together all the lessons in Unit 4 of Finding Great Companies, and we are going to create our list. And this list is ideas for our stock pitch competition. They're also lists for companies that we want to put our actual money and start investing in. So for those of you who had the chance to do the field trip after last lesson, what did you learn? Did you visit a grocery store? Did you visit a mall? For those of you who didn't have the chance to go to these outlets and visit a store, look around your room or look around your classroom. Imagine your own room at home. What are the products that you pay for? What are the brands that are valuable? What are the brands in your house that you see your family members paying for? What are the experiences that they're paying for? Maybe they're going to Disneyland, or maybe they're buying shoes, or maybe you're paying for Netflix, or maybe Apple iTunes is crucial for your budget. What are these items? So I hope you have a list from that field trip. You should also have a list from your stock screener activity, going through all of those possible investment ideas. You should also have a list from the research reports activities, reading research reports. So by now, you should have a great list of potential investments that you think could be interesting. I remember following Peter Lynch's Invest in What You Know, and as a professional portfolio manager, I've had a lot of experiences finding great companies through watching what other people are using, buying, or recommending. There was one experience I remember, I was visiting Poland, and there's an adage in investments that says, chocolate doesn't travel. So what does that mean? It means that most countries tend to have their own chocolate brands, that chocolate tends to be a specific taste to a lot of cultures, and that these cultures tend to prefer certain chocolate brands. Chocolate is a discretionary item that's important and that is a great indulgence. And so when we eat our chocolate and eat our calories, we want our brand that we know and the taste that we favor. So I was in Poland and I was looking around and I noticed that a lot of customers were buying this chocolate brand called Wawel. And they were buying this brand, and I asked about it, why they were buying it. And they said, well, you know, my mother bought it, her mother bought it, and I came to find out that this brand is over 100 years old and had this long history in Poland and in Eastern Europe. We did some more research just from that conversation and just from that visit, and we found that this was a great cash generative small business that was growing prices and growing cash flows. And we were able to actually invest in this company at a great valuation multiple. And so this was an example of finding an investment idea by asking people around you what products they're using and knowing industries. So in this case, it was the chocolate industry, that chocolate tends to be a great localized business in countries throughout the world. So I hope you have some stories. Think about your list that you have through your grocery store visit or through your field trip. If you're interested in buying a stock of a company, what makes that company durable? So if it's a consumer product, how loyal do the customers seem to be to that product? One of the questions you can ask yourself is, what is the price that they buy this product at versus their competitive product? So for example, Tylenol. People pay a 50% premium to buy Tylenol branded pain medication versus the generic store brand version. Why do they pay that premium? Because they trust in the brand, and so that price premium is telling you something, that there's a value in that brand. So think about companies, and are you willing to pay a premium price? Another question you can ask yourself is the demand for that product a fad, or do we expect the demand to be long-term? So how much of this product's demand is driven by the fad or the current demand this year? How much do we think realistically will continue to be the demand 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And often history is the best teacher when it comes to the sustainability of certain business models. let's review really quickly what we went through last time, the steps of due diligence. So first, make sure the company is publicly traded. Second, go to the company's website and go through their investor relations section and their presentations and their financials. Third, spend some time in the annual report of the company. Fourth, read other investors' opinions about the company and start asking yourself, do I have an edge in evaluating this business? Fifth, start to look through the company's financials and be able to tell the story of the history of the company's financials and whether you think they will be able to sustain. And so these are the steps of the due diligence process. Now take a minute, take the remainder of the class today and spend time on your list. Spend time on these companies. Go through the due diligence process. You should start to be narrowing this list down to have an idea of what company you want to pitch for the YIS Global Stock Pitch Competition. And more importantly, what company you want to start investing in through the $1-a-day challenge or through your own personal investing. Now, I hope this section is helpful for you. In finding companies to invest in is the ultimate treasure hunt. And I hope through this process that we've taught you, you will be able to identify the great investments of tomorrow. All right, I hope you enjoyed that lesson. And let's take some frequently asked questions as we're going about making a list and identifying companies to invest in. So the first question is, what do we do with different opinions? What do we do when there's research reports saying this is a great investment and there's other research reports saying this is a terrible investment? How do we disentangle these differing views? So as investors, we call the very optimistic case the bull case, and the very pessimistic case the bear case. And so as an investor, one of the questions you always need to ask yourself is, do I understand the other side? So if you're investing in a company, one of the key questions you need to ask yourself is, do I know what the bear case is? So those who are against investing in the stock, what is the bear case? And so in this sense, it's actually really helpful so when you can see both sides. When you see, okay, here's why I'm investing in it, and here is what the naysayers say about the stock, and then here's why I think they're wrong. We see it in the global stock pitch competition. Some of the best stock pitches are the ones that not only understand the bull case, the investment case, but also understand really well the bear case and are able to refute that. So read both opinions. All of us people are plagued by something called the confirmation bias. The confirmation bias says when we have an opinion, we tend to gravitate to read toward things that confirm this opinion, and we don't like to read things that are against this opinion. As an investor, you have to break away from the confirmation bias and read the anti-opinions so that you can have a balanced view of that investment. Second question we received is, what do you do if your estimate, what you think will happen, is very different than consensus or the majority of the market or other investors? There are times when you will either be much more optimistic than the market or much more pessimistic than the market. And you will have to make a call whether you think you have a strong enough edge that you are smarter than the thousands of other people that are making these estimates. There are times where you will have an edge. You will understand this product, you will be able to think long term, you'll see a connection in a product or a segment that the market generally won't see. But there's also times where we are just too optimistic because we underestimate the risks in this business. So if you are very different than the average consensus, you should be very wary, and you should do your research, make sure that you feel confident in your numbers, and more often than not, if you're making an investment, the best decision is to be conservative. So if you can, we talk about one of the 7 golden rules of invest with a margin of safety. And part of having a margin of safety is being a little conservative in your numbers. Even if you see something the market doesn't and you have an edge, it's okay to be a little conservative in your estimates. The third question we received was, James, how do I win the YIS Global Stock Pitch Competition? It's a great question. So we have thousands of kids throughout the world participating in the Global Stock Pitch Competition. It's the largest of its kind at the high school level. How do I win the competition? We have a series of training videos on our website that you can go through. But in general, there's a couple tips that I would give you. And one is, we have seen that the winners, one, understand the company that they're presenting really, really well, but two, have some unique primary research that they've done on these business. So whether they went and interviewed store managers, or whether they interviewed the investor relations team at the company, or whether they did something unique out of the box to gain primary research, this often sets them apart. Another thing that sets them apart is to know all aspects of the business where they'll be judged. So they're familiar with the financials, they're familiar with the target price, the valuation multiples, they're familiar with the industry. And then the third thing I would say is they're creative. So they choose a company that is maybe against the grain, or they have an opinion that's different. You know, if everyone pitches a company that's very well known, that is an, normal opinion, then it's tough to stand out relative to others. So I'd encourage all of you, now that you have your list and you're thinking about your business ideas, to compete in the YIS Global Stock Pitch Competition. It's an amazing event. It's the largest of its kind. There's cash prizes, and it is a great resume builder for your college experience. And more so than that, you get to meet a great community of other investors, and you get to prepare yourself to invest your own personal money in these companies, and this will be your investment of a lifetime. So I encourage everyone to participate. It's a phenomenal program. I hope that helps answering your questions.